On our chef profile segment this week, we are speaking to one of South Africa's culinary darlings, Siba Mtongana. She is a multi-award-winning, internationally acclaimed culinary extraordinaire, food expert, author and entrepreneur. Siba has recently launched her new cookbook titled Let's Cook. Delicious yet nutritious easy meals and treats for kids and teens. Well, adding to her long list of dreams achieved, Siba also announced that she'll be launching her very first restaurant in Cape Town this week. She joins us now via Zoom to tell us more about her success in this industry as well as these ventures. Siba, very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you. Good morning to you and good morning to the viewers.
It's so great having you on the show, Siba. And let's start with the exciting news you shared on your social media that you'll be opening your first restaurant. Tell us more about that.
Oh, I'm so excited. As you know, every chef has a dream of having their own restaurant, but everyone knows that a restaurant is no small feat. It's not something you can wake up and open overnight. So we have been planning to have this restaurant for a very long time. In fact, to be specific, it's been 4 years in the planning. And 2020 has always been earmarked for us to open the restaurant in April. But alas, COVID-19 took us all by surprise to an extent that we had to move the plans around. But what has been great about that, with having to pivot and having to think of solutions, etc., we found an even better location, which is the Table Bay Hotel at the waterfront. I was initially going to start in Johannesburg, so sorry for my Joburg followers, you're going to be the first to taste Siba's food, but it just makes so much more sense to start at home because of COVID-19.
Okay. And Siba, you've been in the culinary game for quite some time now, so why is now the right time for this kind of venture?
Well, because it's always been part of the plan, and also because there are a lot of youngsters who have been disposed of their jobs and who have been disposed of their employment, etc., who have been crying out to me to say that Siba, almost many executive chefs in big hotels and big restaurants who have lost their jobs have come to me to say that Siba, if you ever go into any venture, please employ us. And I mean, even youngsters who are junior chefs, etc., within the industry have lost their jobs. And I know that as much as we are in the middle of a pandemic and we are in the middle of a storm, but there are people still want some time out where they can, almost like an escape. Even myself, I'm a mother of 4. It's nice to just go out in a restaurant and just be out and about for a little while and then come back. So there still is a need for a restaurant, and I think a new concept is what is going to excite people even more. In my case, people have been asking for this for many years. So I'm very excited that I managed to actually have it eventually.
I quite like the cover of this book. I mean, the look and feel of this cover. I mean, it's so fresh and inviting of all the readers to have a look at it. Now, let's talk about this particular book. Tell us about the inspiration behind it, as well as some of the recipes that you share in there. And in the same breath, take us through the whole process of putting this cookbook together, as well as why these particular recipes made the cut.
Well, I have 4 kids. I'm a mother of 4 kids. I've got 2 boys and I've got 2 girls. I'm sure you saw one of them passing by the side. And I'm really pedantic with making sure that my kids eat well and they eat good and nutritious food. And one of the reasons why I had this book is because I wanted to transfer what I do for my children to mothers around South Africa and around the continent and around the globe, in terms of what can you do to make sure that your child gets good eating habits from a very young age. I've got a 4-year-old who eats all her vegetables, who eats all his, she eats seaweed and she loves sushi. If we are eating, she's like, more veg, mom, but equally so, I've got an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. My boys will be like, no veg. So I do understand, the stress that parents have to go through in order to make sure that their kids eat. This book is also my piece, or my gift to the world, to say that it's a great time for families to come together, mother and child, father and child, guardian and child, to just cook in the kitchen in creating memories. And I find that if you spend a lot of time with the kids in the kitchen, you have more buy-in in them eating the food. So my hopes are that that children will be able to make better choices from a very young age and will be introduced to different fruits so that they can eat a varied diet. And then when they are older, it will be easy for them to eat well.
And speaking of a varied diet, unpack for us how you describe a healthy meal. I mean, what sort of ingredients must be on the dish to qualify as healthy? And do you also believe the notion that a healthy meal is expensive?
Well, yes and no. So I'll answer the first one first. Yes and no. I do believe in the notion that a healthy meal can be expensive, but it doesn't have to be. And one of the things, for instance, I do in order to bring down the food cost in my house, and that I advise people to do, is plant your own vegetables, plant your own food. And I remember because that cuts down your cost of having to buy each time vegetables from the store. And this is the thing, majority of people have access to plant their own food. And I've been giving tutorials even during the lockdown for those who may not have extensive spaces where they've got lots of space or land to plant from, or people staying in apartments. What can they do to still plant their own vegetables even though they are limited in terms of space? So that's the one thing. Then the second thing is there are many nutritious foods that people often don't even know. For instance, gizzards are full of a great protein source, and they're very nutritious, and it just needs to be cooked in a beautiful way. And I created during lockdown a curry and a nice stew, and a coconut curry based stew that people can use gizzards for, which is completely different than what we would ordinarily do. I had many other options as well. So what I'm saying is there are ways in which one can mitigate eating healthy. They just need to know how to attain that.
Now, Siba, we are well into the festive holiday mood, and this time, of course, is known to be the time when most of us indulge in all sorts of unhealthy food. Take us through some of the exciting, healthy, but delicious dishes that family can actually enjoy.
Oh, there's plenty of them. But before even talking about dishes, I'll talk about portion control. The best thing to do within this season is to make sure that we don't overeat, because in essence, what makes us to gain weight, what makes us to feel guilty in January is because we've eaten far more than our body needs in terms of calories and that we can put out. So I would say let's stick with the portion control. Let's carry on with the exercising. I exercise not every morning, but almost every morning, to make sure that I'm fit, to make sure I'm healthy mentally and holistically. And I also have to mention the importance of sleep. And in fact, sleep is one of the biggest things when it comes to health at the moment. But let's talk about recipes. One of the recipes that I have, for instance, is if you are going to make a gammon, for instance, just make sure that you cut off the fat as much as possible so that you don't have to incorporate that into your meal. If you are making chicken, you can remove the skin. You can remove the skin so that you only eat the flesh part of the chicken. And also, the one thing that makes food more rich is not necessarily the chicken or the meat itself or the food itself, but it is the sauces that we add to it. It is the butter, it is the oil, it is the salt, it is all the things that then add up and make the meal unhealthy. So chicken in itself is not unhealthy, but what we add to the chicken can make it less healthy.
Sure.
And I would say let's have lots of greens and lots of vegetables with our meal, which is something we do anyway. And please don't have rice and potatoes and something else, because those in essence are the same thing. So choose one starch, lots of vegetables, and then obviously I also believe in having like dessert. So don't punish yourself at the same time. So do have dessert, but just keep it under control.
Siba, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you for making cooking so much fun.
Oh, thank you. And people can get the cookbook at Exclusive Books and many other retailers around the country.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Do have a Merry Christmas, Siba. Thank you so much. And that is our chef profile for this weekend. We've been in conversation with the internationally acclaimed, multi-award-winning culinary extraordinaire, Siba Mtongana, about her new book, as well as a new restaurant venture that's opening in Cape Town later on this week.